Hi, I'm Steve G. Jones, clinical hypnotherapist, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself before we get started. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Florida, a master's degree in education from Armstrong Atlantic State University, and a doctorate in education from Georgia Southern University. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a member of both the American Board of Hypnotherapy and the National Guild of Hypnotists, and I'm president of the American Alliance of Hypnotists. I'm the director of the Steve G. Jones School of Clinical Hypnotherapy. I also serve on the board of directors of the American Lung Association in Los Angeles. I have over 2 decades of experience in hypnotherapy, and I still maintain a busy practice and teaching schedule because I see clients and teach classes worldwide. My client base consists mainly of people who want to lose weight, stop smoking, or gain confidence. Other clients include sales teams interested in boosting motivation and increasing income. Also, singles looking for love, insomniacs desiring proper sleep, and actors desiring more confidence for their next audition. When I travel to see clients and teach hypnotherapy certification classes around the world, I visit such places as Tokyo, Japan, Barcelona, Spain, Paris, France, London, England, Montreal, Canada, Los Angeles, California, and New York, just to name a few. By the way, since you have an interest in hypnosis, perhaps you would be interested in becoming a certified clinical hypnotherapist. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is go to my website, betterlivingwithhypnosis.com, and click on Hypnosis Classes at the top. You can either train in person or online. After your training, you'll be added to our worldwide directory of certified clinical hypnotherapists, and you'll receive a certificate. I was fortunate for many years to have my office in Beverly Hills, California, where I worked with such wonderful people as Tom Mankiewicz, the writer of Superman, Geraldine Saunders, the writer of The Love Boat, and many other celebrities. I have been interviewed on CNN, Fox News, and appeared on True TV, in addition to having my own hypnosis TV show. With my over 20 years of experience, I'm happy to share with you techniques that I've both developed and learned, which can help you improve your life. I encourage you to visit my website, betterlivingwithhypnosis.com. There you will find my life's work, 22 books on hypnotherapy, over 3,000 hypnosis recordings available as downloadable MP3s or CDs, and these recordings will program your mind to achieve goals in such areas as weight loss, motivation, and stopping smoking. I also have audiobooks, such as this one, where I'm talking with you and sharing with you in a very dynamic way techniques that you can use to improve your life and the way you do things. The reason I'm telling you all of this is not to impress you, but to impress upon you that I, your teacher, am very capable and I know what I'm talking about. I'm also very happy for the opportunity to share this information with you, so rest assured that you're in good hands, and let's have some fun as we now expand your knowledge. I wish you well in all of your endeavors, and please be sure to visit my website, betterlivingwithhypnosis.com. Hi, I'm Steve G. Jones, clinical hypnotherapist, and I want to tell you how to increase your productivity. It's very easy for people to get bored or distracted at work, especially if they don't like their job. It can be very difficult to encourage yourself to do something you don't want to do and you don't like to do. Every day, a lot of people wake up and force themselves to do things that they don't want to do and have no desire whatsoever to do. But they have to do these things out of obligation. Turn obligation into desire and become productive. That's my advice to you. Productivity is the ability to apply yourself and your skills at their maximum level of effort and to create products, ideas, reports, etc. at a faster and more efficient pace. Productivity can be in any and all areas in which work needs to be done, including, but not limited to, cleaning or organizing, work, creativity, school, and many others. The most important part of increasing productivity is finding the motivation necessary to do so. Once you have motivation for doing something that you strive for, the task at hand will be seen as a lot less tedious. Learn from example. Here's an example from a very productive person, Oprah Winfrey. She managed to make a multi-million-dollar empire having come from nothing, using only her ambition and drive. She established her own production company in 1986. She runs a magazine named O Magazine. She acted in an Academy Award-nominated film, The Color Purple, and she formed her book club in which she encourages others to read books. Here's another example, Tyra Banks. She went from supermodel to talk show host. She runs, produces, and stars in 2 television shows. She runs a girls' summer program to promote female empowerment, has her own production company, and made history by becoming the first African-American woman to appear alone on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine. Stephen King, another fine example. He wrote his first short story at age 7. He was first published at age 18. He's had over 10 books that have been successfully turned into movies. He has won numerous awards for his writing. He has written nonfiction works as well. How did he do it? He was able to focus on the task and apply himself. He was willing to sacrifice other things to accomplish the goal that he set his mind to. We may not have the desire to be like Tyra Banks, Oprah Winfrey, or Stephen King, but we can learn from these examples about their drive. They were once ordinary people, but they channeled their ambitions into becoming something great. They were not born into privilege. They earned it. Let's look at productivity tools. Organization is a wonderful, powerful tool. Getting things done in an organized environment is always much easier. Clutter can be very distracting. Clean your surrounding work area and make sure that you have enough free space to function. If you need help in decluttering your life, I have an outstanding recording available on that. Visit betterlivingwithhypnosis.com where you'll find that recording. Another powerful tool is a to-do list. Make out a list of things that you need to accomplish. Include a time schedule so that you will know when each item needs to be accomplished. As a motivation, split a sheet of paper into 2 parts. On one side, write what you need to do. On the other side, write what you want to do. The want to do side will help with the need to do side because it will motivate you to finish your work. Make sure your list is understandable and realistic. For example, need to do, clean out garage. Want to do, set up home office and free space. As opposed to, need to do, clean out garage. Want to do, go to Paris. Make sure that you follow your list. Design it in a way that will ensure that you will follow it. Self-control and self-restraint are very important. Put only the most important things for the moment on the list. It could possibly cause unnecessary and unproductive stress if you see more things on the list than you have time to do right now. You want to avoid having things pile up on the list. Keep your to-do list in plain view so that you will know exactly what you need to do and when you need to do it. Set up times and dates for the tasks that you need to accomplish and make sure that you accomplish them. This way you will be prepared when you need to start the task. Keep an organized notebook to write down your progress, even if you are just checking things off. Notebooks don't need to be anything big and bulky, and can even be small 3-inch notepads. The tool of time management. Setting deadlines can help you be more productive. A deadline is the light at the end of the tunnel, and you feel much better when you start seeing that light more clearly. Without a set deadline, you may go out into the darkness, and it may seem like an eternity before seeing anything being done. If you know that you have a paper or project due, make sure that you avoid putting it off until the last minute, and start working on it well in advance of the deadline. Deadlines can also be very helpful when dealing with something particularly unfavorable. If you don't want to do something, for example, you can set a deadline and do it just for a little while. Give yourself an hour to write a few pages of a paper, or clean your garage for only the first half of the day, then go enjoy the rest of the day. Also incorporate the fact that you will have to go back and finish what you started. Make sure that you have the willpower to do so. The tool of convincing yourself. Use motivational phrases such as I must and I have to when referring to having to do something. To make it a little easier, you may want to use phrases such as I'm lucky enough to be able to. Take into consideration the benefits of accomplishing what you have to accomplish. By acknowledging what you will accomplish, you are more likely to increase your level of productivity. Think positive. Focus on the idea that you want to do the task, rather than it being a tedious or unfavorable task. Tell yourself that doing the task is fun and it will make you happy. Remember Tom Sawyer whitewashing the fence. When he made it fun, it became easy. Think ahead to what you will be doing when you are done. Entertain yourself. Let's talk about the tool of entertaining yourself. If the situation allows, listen to music while doing your tedious task. Put the TV on in the background and leave your favorite show on for the background noise. Ask a friend to help you. 2 or more people working on something will always be better and faster than one. The tool of motivation. This can come from all different sides, but it can be a challenge to develop intrinsically with a task that you don't want to do. If you don't want to do something, you have to rely on extrinsic motivation to help you accomplish your goals. If you want to use hypnosis for motivation, I encourage you to use the powerful recording that I've made on motivation. This unlimited motivation recording is available at betterlivingwithhypnosis.com. But you can motivate yourself with the ideas of what you want to do after the work is done. Use motivational posters and hang them up in plain view to keep you motivated. If you decide to buy a planner, try buying one with motivational thoughts and messages. Are you having trouble making it through your tedious workday? Try setting up a timer to show how little time you have left until you can go home. With each glance, the amount of time will decrease, and you will be that much closer to freedom. The physical representation of time will greatly help. Fear can also be a motivator. Consider what may happen if you do not accomplish the task. Can your boss fire you? Is your teacher going to flunk you? Is your spouse going to get mad at you and stop talking to you? Use fear as a motivator when needed. Breaks can also be motivational. Mix deadlines with motivations to increase your desire to finish a task. For example, if I finish another 3 pages within an hour, I will go for a break. If not, then I won't move from this place until those 3 pages are done. If you have trouble with such things, ask a friend, a family member, or a coworker to help you. Ask them to force you to remain in one place until the work that needs to be done is done. Other people can be a form of motivation too. Observe other people's techniques and how they stay motivated. Assess distractions. You need to make sure you get rid of the ones that hinder your productivity. For example, if you like to listen to music while you're writing papers, but find that the words sometimes distract you from writing well, try switching to listening to music with no words. This can prove to be more relaxing and less of a distraction, so get rid of the distractions that stop you from accomplishing your goals. Turn off the TV, the radio, the telephone, lock your door if you have to, post a sign asking people to keep away, and relax. Along with many other distractions, a stressful environment will always stifle productivity. If you feel yourself getting too stressed, then take a break from whatever you're doing and blow off some steam. It's not likely that you will accomplish a lot if you are stressed, upset, or feeling anxiety. So take a walk, go for a bike ride, or go for a short run, but relieve your stress. Not everyone believes in the power of positive thinking. Not everyone accepts the way that it can work and the way that it can change your life. How many times have you said or heard someone say, "Think positive," to someone who's down in the dumps and worried about something? If so, what was the reaction? Most people say it without thinking, or hear it without acting. It's just something else to hear, and it's just something that seems appropriate to say. But there is, in fact, a great deal of power in these words, think positive. The trick is to be able to acknowledge that power and then being able to harness that power to your advantage. In today's society, we are constantly surrounded by negativity. One glance at a newspaper or a television bulletin is enough to tell you that. It seems people have lost the ability to really think positive. If you do, however, the benefits are immense, as I'm going to show you. But it doesn't happen overnight. It's a little like losing weight. If your diet and exercise have been lax for a number of years, then it may take a little while to change. Then it may take a little while to change built-in attitudes. Similarly, if you have programmed your brain to think negatively for a long period of time, it will take some time to alter it. The phrase "think positive" sounds like such a simple and straightforward concept that many people miss its significance. If you are looking for a way to change your life, or you simply want to have a more positive outlook on life, then there may well be changes that have to be made. Changing your thought patterns and attitudes can be an easy process, but there are steps you have to take. I'm going to share with you tips and techniques that will help you along the way. And they're also going to help the people around you. I'm going to show you how to replace those negative thoughts with positive ones as soon as they enter your mind. If negativity is what you're accustomed to, you may find that negative thought is a little more persistent. But I'm going to show you how to keep on replacing it with positive thoughts until it's completely banished from your mind. And the really wonderful thing is, it works for everyone. No matter what your present situation, if you think only positive thoughts and banish negative ones, you will find circumstances change. So as we delve into the workings of positive thinking and demonstrate some of the impacts you can expect it to have, it's important to remember one thing. The information I'm sharing with you is not going to do the job for you. I know that those tips and techniques work, since I've employed them successfully myself for years. Some people listen to what I'm saying and think as soon as they've heard it, everything's going to change. However, if you don't take action on the things that I say, then nothing will change. The power of positive thinking is unarguable. But when it comes to the bottom line, when you strip away everything else, it comes down to just one thing: you. You have the power to do anything you want to do. Don't believe me? Keep listening. I'll prove it. Each of us is unique. Each of us is able to achieve things we never knew we were capable of. I've seen it happen with my very own eyes. There's nothing that is more personally satisfying to me than watching someone achieve the things they've always wanted through the power of positive thinking. Before I move on to talking about positive thinking and its origins, listen to the following brief explanation of how wonderful and unique you are. This morning, when you got out of bed, did you make yourself a cup of tea? Maybe coffee is your drink of choice in the mornings. How much thought actually went into making that cup of coffee or tea? If you're anything like me, then it's usually a half-asleep trudge into the kitchen, a vague wipe of the eyes as the coffee pot boils, and then a plop into the chair and the kitchen table. There's nothing really taxing about making a cup of coffee or tea, right? But did you know that in order to program a robot to do that task that so many of us do bleary-eyed and sleepily in the morning would take over 1 billion lines of computer code? And yet you do it without thinking. Each of us has the ability. And that is why you are amazing. You do things that even the most intelligent machines in the world can only dream of. Let me tell you about the history of positive thinking. In 1952, Norman Vincent Peale first popularized the term positive thinking. Since the early 1950s, the term has been bandied about and used in conjunction with a host of varied subjects. The words themselves, it seems, have been thrown into the washing machine to see what comes out, and derivatives include positive mental attitude or optimal thinking, as more and more people hurl themselves into the bandwagon to see the positive results that can happen. Recently, however, the phrase has been replaced with a better understanding of the term, and more research has gone into positive thinking, treating it more as an exact science. The truth of the matter, however, is that we are barely beginning to understand ourselves and how the brain works. The complexity of the brain is immense, and it is slowly becoming apparent that we may never discover exactly what it is that makes us tick. Does this sound a bit negative? Think about it. It's not. It is this very complexity and mastery that gives us all the challenge and opportunity, that gives us all the potential for growth and amazing achievements every single day of our lives. We are all different. We are all unique. We all think and function in different ways. Every single one of us has a library all around us consisting of over 6 billion different ways of thinking. I remember having a conversation with an old friend of mine who's a doctor. He was researching memory and the way the memory interacts with other parts of the brain. He said that he was becoming convinced that negative thought processes might be in the genes, and that parents who instinctively thought negatively would produce offspring with the same sort of mentality. A few weeks later, I went to visit him in the hospital where he worked. During a brief window in his busy schedule, I took him to the maternity ward, where a number of newborn babies were lying in cots, surrounded by smiling, overjoyed parents. I asked him how many of those babies were currently having negative thoughts. And then I asked him how many of those parents were having negative thoughts. If negativity is truly in the genes, then how come the vast majority of us start out our lives surrounded by such happiness? Later, we discussed the point even further. How many small children do you see being negative? When we are young, we're pure, and we're not contaminated or damaged by the experiences around us. We have no fear, and making mistakes is how we learn. We soon learn that eating crayons doesn't taste as nice as rice pudding. And how do we learn these things? by trying them for ourselves. It is these experiences in everyday life as we grow and learn that shape our consciousness. And often, it is these experiences that teach us to think negatively. It is these low points, like when the bigger children stomp all over your sandcastle, these experiences take away our confidence and make us think lower thoughts. As we get older, we find it harder and harder to retain that positiveness that we had when we were very small. Often it can seem that there will always be a group of bigger children ready to stomp your sandcastle. Too much of this, and we find ourselves building a sandcastle in order for someone to knock it down. The negative thought is there from the beginning sometimes. But deep within us, we all have the original desire that made us build the sandcastle in the first place. We all have the positive attitude that so often gets suppressed by the things that happen all around us. Getting out of bed in the morning, making a cup of tea or coffee for breakfast, learning to drive, building a bigger and better sandcastle. All of these things require a level of motivation in some capacity. We all still have that fire within us. Think back to your school days. In every school, there are those kids who you think will make something out of their lives, and there are those kids that you think will never really amount to much. Now log into one of those websites that reunites old school friends and check out how those kids are doing. Oftentimes, what we find is that the kids who we didn't think would amount to anything are doing better than any of the other kids. The results are often surprising, but it goes to show that we all have the flame kindled somewhere inside us. We all have the ability to make that flame grow. So what can positive thinking do for you? That's a fair question, and it's worth considering before we move on. What can positive thinking do for you? Before you continue listening to what I'm saying, I want you to answer some questions for yourself. So if you're not operating a motor vehicle, take out a piece of paper and make 2 lists. On the right side of the paper, I want you to write down all the things that you want to achieve in your life. On the left side, write down all the things that you believe have prevented you from achieving those things. So I'm going to be silent now. I'm going to give you time to get the paper, get the pen or pencil, and to write your list. Go ahead and do all this now as I'm silent. Okay, now I want you to take a look at the list of things that stand in your way, the obstacles. How many of them do you have a degree of personal control over? Write that down next to them now as I'm silent. Okay, that is what positive thinking can do for you. It can help you eliminate those obstacles which stand in your way by taking away the negatives that you control. And you may well find that the negative things you believed you couldn't control start to diminish as well. A recent patient of mine had a list that went something like this: things I want, larger house, more financial security, more interesting social life; obstacles in my way, financial constraints, unrewarding job, lack of confidence. Does this sound like anything on your list? What things would you change on my patient's list? Bear the answers in mind as we take a look at confidence and self-esteem and start to work toward removing your barriers. I once worked with a young lady who had very low self-esteem and very little confidence. She would often avoid tasks that she deemed challenging since she was certain she would fail at them. Over this period of time, she and I worked on this lack of self-confidence together, and especially worked around the barriers that she was putting up that were preventing her from getting where she wanted to go. First, we identified what her goals were. She was working as a supervisor for a company and had wanted to take her examination to become a manager for some time, but she felt she would never be able to get through the testing process. After some time, it became apparent to me that a great deal of her apprehension came down to trust. She did not trust herself to complete the tasks, just as she did not trust others to look upon her favorably. All throughout her life, people had told her that she would fail. So after a while, she had come to believe this herself. When I was able to identify these trust issues and she was able to see them clearly, she was much more confident in herself and soon was able to take the tests that would allow her to be promoted. The tests themselves consisted of a number of group activities followed by a short interview. Throughout the group tasks, she was outstanding, and she was earmarked as a sure thing for the promotion she wanted. For this reason, her interview was conducted last out of a group of 20 people. The assessors had been so impressed with her that they wanted to get the others out of the way before they spoke to her. For the young lady, however, this was another knock in her confidence. She believed that she was being left behind until last because she had completely messed up on group activities, whereas in actuality, the exact opposite was the case. When it came time for her to be interviewed, she very nearly threw all of her hard work away because she already believed that she had failed. She got the promotion, and afterwards was asked how she had managed to perform so badly at the interview when for the rest of the day she had been such an outstanding candidate. It finally dawned on her that the only reason she had ever failed at anything was because she was creating barriers for herself that she had no chance of getting over, and those barriers did not exist anywhere but inside her mind. A few weeks ago, I was invited to a business dinner where she was awarded Manager of the Year at the large multinational company where she works. The old doubts and barriers that she created for herself had all but gone, and she had gone on to achieve everything that she wanted. I asked her about her self-doubt, and she revealed that sometimes she still doubted herself, but she was quick to eliminate those thoughts from her brain and keep on telling herself that she could do it. Because she had achieved so much, the barriers, when they came up, were easier to knock down. She had discovered what it was that was holding her back. She had found that the only reason she never achieved anything was because she told herself she couldn't. When she started to think positively, positive things started to happen for her. And she even shared a joke with me that had stuck in her mind that has to do with positive thinking. Picture the scene. 2 men on a safari in the deep heartlands of South Africa. They've managed to get lost from the main group and are now wandering aimlessly and scared through the bush. Suddenly, they come across an enormous male lion in the grass. There is a brief standoff. The men look at the lion, and the lion looks back at them. One of the men whispers to his friends out of the corner of his mouth, "When I say run, we'll turn and run." The other man whispers back, his voice wavering with fright, "We can't outrun a lion." The other man, a rather positive thinker by nature, whispers, "I don't need to outrun the lion. I only need to outrun you." So we had a good laugh, and afterwards she revealed to me how the joke had gotten her thinking. If the first guy had been thinking negatively, he probably wouldn't have survived. It was an unpleasant situation, and he had found something positive within it, and it had given him a way out of a seemingly no-win situation. She revealed that she often thought of this joke when she was placed in a situation where there was no obvious way out, and it reminded her that there's always a way to overcome even the most challenging or dangerous of situations. All right, let's take a little break now. We're about halfway through the material that I've presented, and I want to make sure that you're with me, that you're paying attention and that you're learning something. So what I want you to do right now is, if you're driving and you can pull over, go ahead and do that. If you're not driving, then you can definitely do this. You can take out a piece of paper and you can write down 5 things that you've learned so far from what I've said. 5 things that resonated with you. Now, I want you to keep in mind, they don't even have to be 5 things that I said. Maybe you got some good ideas from what I said. Maybe I said something and your brain took it and blew it up a million times and came up with all kinds of wonderful, amazing possibilities based on what I said. If that's the case, then feel free to write that down. I just want you to write down 5 things, whether they came from me or they're just thoughts that came in your head. 5 things that have come to you so far, either from me saying them or from you thinking them, as a result of listening to this program so far. So as I'm silent, I'm going to give you ample time now. I want you to write down 5 things, 5 thoughts that you have as a result of listening to this program so far. Do this now.